All right, so this is a 2017 1A state championship. Andy, we've talked. I'm with Andy Romine, Tuscola head football coach, Tuscola assistant, and softball coach, Lenny Sementi. I always say your name, Lenny, is just one big word. I think it's more fun that way. It rolls off so perfectly.
Yeah.
But can you guys kind of set what this team was like for you guys? Andy, I know you have spoken to me highly about this team and where it kind of lines up in the big picture, but what do you guys remember about this season?
Well, I mean, it was had big experience returning from two teams that we thought were about as good as any in the state the previous couple of years, and just came up a little bit short. Had bad days on the wrong days, quite honestly. So I think this group was really, really hungry. I think the motto for this group that we put on our preseason poster was branded with iron. And these guys were machines in a weight room. And I'm talking from a diminutive kid like Hole to our bigger kids. I mean, it was really important to them to be in the weight room and really teach their bodies to get physical. And then they were just grinders. And but you have groups where certain things are really important to them, and football was really important to this group. Sports in general, I guess.
I guess the issue in this game that you guys ran into was Lena was, I mean, this was as good of a Lena team it's been around, right? I mean, what was Ravion Valentine was really good. They're perennially big up front. And it seems like not a lot of teams in 1A could have matched your guys' line this year. Lena was that team.
Yeah, I mean, Rick's told me, and I haven't talked to him since this past year's team, but he said this 17 team was the best team he's had. They whacked us in 10, and we had a really good team. They whacked us in the title game. And so I know he talked very highly about this past season's defensive front, but he's told me that offensive front was the best he'd had. And very experienced on the back end of it also. And of course, then you look on the field, what they were playing on the field at different points in the game, they will have had 6 kids that played this day go play Division I football, and another one that was offered that ended up at McKendree and will start as a redshirt freshman for them, probably wherever he wants.
You guys were, you had Hunter Woodard up front, obviously now at Oklahoma State. Luke Sluter was your quarterback, Andrew Erickson running back, and Dalton Hole, kind of highlighting some of the big names I think that we know. Who else am I missing? I know this was a loaded team. Who else am I missing here?
Well, I mean, from an offensive production standpoint, Noah Pierce helped balance us out. Cothran was a big play wide receiver, and then we played more tight end sets this year. So Cale, who's on with us, he played tight end for us, but just a really experienced group. And you see our backs out there right now. That's a big group of kids. You don't see many 6'6", 6'4", 6'6", at this level, but then they had them too. And so I guess that's why this game's played in the state championship.
Cale, I'm sorry, man. I looked over you twice and I didn't even say hi. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
What do you remember about this team, Cale?
The seniors on this team were all super close. Every Monday, every varsity starter would go to Monocle's and eat together for 14 straight weeks. And a big group of us hung out every Saturday night after the games. And then I remember every Thursday after team dinner together, we'd do something stupid to mess with Hole. We stole a scooter 2 times, put it in the bed of Hunter Woodard's truck and just stole it.
That's a felony, Cale.
Andy, what was the plan offensively for you guys? We're about ready to kick off here.
Well, the plan was to be balanced. And I'll be honest with you, when you look at the shell they gave us early on, I'm salivating to run the football. And I'll talk about this, but on about the 4th play of the game, 55, Ian Cool for them. I don't remember who the MVP of the game was for them. I assume it was probably Robbie. But Cool was the best player on the field on this day, in my opinion. he's playing left defensive tackle right here, and he was a man. We just did not do a good job, and then we're set to make an adjustment to try and our plan was to run away from him and at the sophomore Bruce, the defensive end, because we felt he wasn't maybe quite as good technically, but Cool kept tracking us down, from the backside, and so then we tried to run at him some, and did a better job actually running at him, which we didn't think we would be able to do. But we were set to make an adjustment, and we were going to start bringing an H back in the game and leaving a double team on him on the backside of our run game. And then Pierce broke his foot there in the first quarter, which if I had to do it all over again, I would have brought Cale into the game as an H back and handed the ball off to Erickson as the tailback. We had repped that at different times through the year, but hadn't done it much that week. But those kids are smart enough. I could have inserted Cale immediately, and we would have been fine. I should have done that so we could have double-teamed him.
When did you come to that realization? Was it – I'm assuming you watched film pretty quickly after this game.
Well, we knew we were having trouble with him. The play before you see on the screen right now, just the play before, it was a 4th and 1. And he drove one of our offensive linemen in a good one about 2 yards in the backfield and actually tripped up our running back on a 4th down and about a half a yard, tripped him up. And I'm like, oh boy. So when you watch the film now, that's where he started to assert his dominance. But there's a couple clips in here I'll show you where we have everything blocked. The point of attack is blocked unbelievably, and he works us over from the backside.
For them to muff that punt, though, even after that first drive stalls out, is as good of a feeling as you could possibly get, right?
Well, yeah, we had the ball 1st and goal and fumble it away on the 4-yard line. But we do get it right back. And when you look into this thing, 35 plays into the game, the whole game's been deep in their own territory. And we win the game if we take advantage of those early, but we just made some mistakes.
Go grab my iPad.
That particular play right there, Cale, he almost ran that play down from behind. I don't know what play you're on, Joey. Can you see?
Yeah, I did.
Play 25. We have the point of attack blocked so well, and I think it's after we fumble the ball. That's a kickoff on your screen. So
Play.
It'd be play 19, I guess, on this one. I'm gonna take a guess. Yeah. So we're running a little H counter here, and we have it blocked at the point of attack unbelievably well. But watch their backside defensive tackle 55. Like our point of attack blocking is unbelievable, and he's able to come down from the backside and run the play down for a gain of about 2 yards, and it's just, I'm getting stuff on my headset that says, hey, I said, what happened there? And he's like, we've got the point of attack blocked well, and he goes back and looks at it, and he's like, it's 55 from the backside. So he was trouble. Like I said, on this particular day, the best player on the field, we felt like.
Without a doubt,
he was a monster.
And you guys knew it immediately, right? Like I said, Andy, 4 plays in, and it's pretty clear to you.
We knew on film we wanted to run away from him. Turns out we were going to have to run at him because we couldn't keep him from he was hemorrhaging us off the backside so badly. But defensively, we got a 3-and-out to start the game after we turned it over, and we get the ball back. And then immediately we're able to move the ball down the field. This is another one. This play right here. Our point of attack, we have a pancake block on a double team. We have a great kick out. We have a great kick out by Picasso 77. Von Lincoln wraps up and plants a kid, but the defensive tackle on the screen's right in front of number 55, he makes the play from the backside. Really impressive, this particular play. Really good.
Coach Romine, what's it under now on Huddle? It's not under Lena, is it?
That's under THS versus LHS. It's on
Is
Huddle.
this the play you were just talking about, Andy?
Yes. Yes. I mean, we have the play blocked as well as you can block it. And that's him coming from the back. That's from the backside. And we gained 4 yards, but it should have went for 8 or 9 and scored because our point of attack blocking was done so well. I mean,
So you guys probably score on that play most times before when against anyone else other than that dude. Is that fair?
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You guys punched that one in there. Is that right? Did Andrew get that one?
Second down, we were able to put it in and take the lead. Of course, we have some momentum here.
So this is 7-0. You guys had overcome an early turnover, yeah, and take a 7-0 lead, and
Correct, and it's 7-0 going into the wind. I mean, that was important to us. As the game went on, the wind got steadily heavier. I've always, you shouldn't do this, but I always do it. I wonder what would it have been like if we were in the middle of town in Champaign, and that side of because the stadiums runs the same way. If that side of the stadium was domed in, we just as we get into the second quarter, we're not able to throw the ball at all with the way the wind was picking up. This is still only about 10, quarter after 10 in the morning.
mm-hmm. I had an interesting conversation with Josh Jostis the other day, and you guys were around when they would flip the 1A and 2A games at state, where 2A would go first one year and 1A the following year.
And the year that you did that game with those guys, they played at the 10 a.m. game, and Tuscola played the 1 p.m. game that day.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of that? Do you like the flip, or do you like the consistency?
No, I really like the flip. I think 10 o'clock's really early, especially being 4 hours from home like we were in this one. It wasn't as big of a deal. It's not as big of a deal when you're in Champaign, because for us, we got a 25-minute bus ride. We're in the stadium. Mm-hmm. But still, you're used to playing 7 o'clock, and then you're 1 to 2:30, usually for a playoff game. And all of a sudden, you're trying to ramp up on a short week at 10 a.m. But I'll tell you this, Joey, we screwed up in 2010, I felt like, when we played Lena the first time. We went all over everywhere trying to find a place to practice on the turf, trying to get out of weather, changing practice plans late in the day. And we should have stayed in Tuscola, practiced outside, and just been really concise. And we did that in 2011, I thought, and played much better. I made the decision immediately, when we do this again, and we plan on doing it again, we're staying in Tuscola. We're keeping it concise and tight for our kids, because it's such a short week anyways. You're kicking off at 10 in the morning on Friday after you were not home till 7 p.m. the previous Saturday, and it's just a short week, and it needs to be. What do you think about that, Cale? What's your take on that?
On staying the night?
No, I'm just saying on keeping the week consistent, staying at the high school to practice.
I don't know. I don't think that there was really much effect. I think one of the things that actually kind of messed with me was how it messed with our pregame routine, warming up in the field house and then walking out. It was kind of different. And then the setting in the locker room pregame when we were trying to listen to our music was a little bit different, and it just kind of, I don't know, threw you off at the beginning. But it's the same for both teams. The player intros were a little odd too, because it kind of made you lose your sweat. But other than that, it wasn't really bad.
So I paused it here. You guys have recovered a fumble. You guys will have your fourth, and we've talked about the chances, Andy, that you guys had. This will be your fourth offensive possession if you count their muff punt, and I think they've had 2. Is that right? Well, you guys have had chances here. Am I?
Yeah, I mean, we got the ball, punted it away, got it again, right? So because they muffed the punt and score, and then we get a 3 and out and get the ball back. I think that's where we're at.
This is a fumble. It looked like you guys recovered a fumble here.
Yeah, they fumbled a snap.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Kevin Miller forced a fumble on a snap, kind of got it up in the air in a jet sweep. Yeah. Yeah, you got to take advantage. I mean, 2:37 to go. We've been inside there 22 times and have really good field position again. You know, you feel like you're in control of the game if you're able to score here again. And if you don't, then they can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. But, man, these games are finicky like that, especially ones where kids are probably a little tight anyways.
Kevin Miller was interesting because he was far and away the smallest guy on that line, wasn't he? I mean, I don't, if I'm remembering correctly.
By 50 or 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played defensive line only for us. He can kill our practices, man. Just kill them.
I remember coming out and doing a story, and you had Big Braden, Big Hunter, and here comes this kid. I'm like, Andy, I don't really need your slot receiver, man. I'm good with talking to the D line. And he's like, no, I'm nose tackle. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nose guard.
See, we turned the ball over here, but kind of got away with it. That they called it incomplete, being out of bounds. We had a grounding call though, so we're forced to punt the ball away. Taking a loss on first down there was tough. You're not going to do well against these guys, especially into the wind, starting second down and 13.
I don't remember that.
Good save by Cade.
Long snapping wasn't our strong suit in this game.
Yeah, NIU, Andy, you're right. The win there versus Champaign, it's not really that comparable, is it? I mean, the way yeah.
It's going to swirl a little bit in Champaign, but the south side of that stadium being wide open, and it was unseasonably warm, so the wind was coming straight out of the south, you know, and we knew, like, going late in the game on our final drive, we've got a chance to kick a field goal and win the game, but we had to be at the 16-yard line to have a chance. You know, we knew that from our pregame, like, and the wind we felt was a little bit heavier, but we were going to try to let him drive the ball on a line through the wind if we could get the ball to the 16-yard line.
This is Valentine, right, running it?
No, this is
that's Bruce, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you a story about this. This is a screen pass to Bruce on 3rd and 20. So they had us in a bad situation. We get them in a really bad situation. But probably, and Cale's heard this, probably rings in Cale's dreams. We talk so much about eye discipline, okay, and key reads. And our corners, they run a 2 tight end set, and it's 3rd down and 24, and they fake a blast, you know, like a wishbone blast play where it's like a double lead ISO, and they just sneak their tight end out in the flat. Well, our corner and safety have the read. And our eye discipline just you know, fell off. But we had repped that play in practice, Joey, in a situation during the week. We had seen it on film from the previous year's quarterfinal game against Salt Fork. We had seen that play on that film, and we had repped that. But in all the films, I think we had 9 films, they had not ran that play all year long. But they had ran it the previous season. And we had repped in a situation, but that's where your eye discipline is so important.
So what happened here on the film? It looked like they kicked off, but now they've got you guys didn't fumble that kickoff, did you?
No, but okay, it had gone into the second quarter and they were kicking the other direction.
They got the ball back. Something must have happened.
Let me see here, Joey. Do you know what play you're on?
Oh, the clips are messed up for some reason. Skip to 48.
Me skip to 48?
Yeah, the clips are out of order.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, that happened.
It does that every once in a while.
Quarterback power.
You guys ran Luke a lot this game. Am I remembering that right on those quarterback keepers?
Early in the game because we wanted the extra blocker. But it takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit longer to develop. We're in a little reverse there to hole. I mean, their eye discipline's very good. You know, we had a 2nd and 10, and we pick up 6, but that play, and we did a lot of where we're trading our tight end. There's Cale again from the backside. You know, I mean,
Erickson's strong enough to run through Keel's arms, though.
Yeah, Erickson could run through his arms when he's coming from the backside.
But Keel just owned our center coming back.
Yeah, he was a good player, man. And like I said, that lad put on 40 pounds going into the next football season for another crack at this, and obviously it didn't work out. But for either one of us, them or us.
You guys ran into Maroa, am I remembering that right, the next year?
Yeah, next year's quarterfinal game.
Goal line. What play was that?
They got beat by Forreston, didn't they?
Goal line, Oklahoma
Yeah.
beat.
No, we ran rip and it was wheel cut.
Oh, at this point, Noah's ankles broke.
Right.
So how do you guys respond to that? I mean, I know you now know what you would do, but in the moment, was there panic? What was that like?
No, Douglas moved in to play the slot, but what it did was it limited our ability to go with 2 backs, you know, and 2 backs was going to give us the ability to start pulling. Instead of pulling a second lineman, we were going to start pulling an H-back and leaving our backside guard to double team Cool, 55. Like I said, if I had to do it over again, I would simply go away from a lot of our tight end sets, and I would put Cale in at fullback and leave Erickson at tailback and do it that way. You know, Ormiston, the kid who was the MVP of the championship game this year against A&M, he had a trap. He ran a trap play on 2nd down and ran through a tackle. But this was Robbie's long run. Is that right? Was this Robbie's long run?
Yeah,
I got
Like 3 tackles.
I got jumped back to the kickoff here, or to a point after. I'm on 58 here.
Yeah, the clip's missing from when Robbie ran one like 60 yards.
I think it's actually the next touchdown.
That might have been when Armistice broke one open at fullback and we caught him from behind, and then Robbie took one around the left side.
Yeah, it was on a jet sweep. You know, so I think this touchdown here, the one they just got, they earned that one. Like, they earned it. And so they got to obviously have a good team. So they're going to earn some things. But they're just solid, you know. And Joey, we've talked about wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
people say that style's been so good in the playoffs and small school state of Illinois stuff. Like, why don't you guys do some of that? And, you know, number one, I don't think our kids would buy into it. But number two, our strength is we're very strong, but their ability to leverage people because of wrestling all winter. And they probably have 5 or 6 kids on this team that wrestled all summer long too. You know, and they've got state champion wrestlers and a lot of state placers on this team, and they're able to do that. But that style at that level, I don't think we could do it down here because we don't wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are. We're moving the ball again, you know. We're back in business, moving the ball.
It's cool from the backside. Pierce is still playing on a broken ankle.
Yeah, Pierce is still on a broken ankle here, trying like heck.
At what point, how did it come about that did he say, I can't do this anymore? Do you guys remember how it kind of came about?
I finally called down on defense, and our headsets didn't work in the first half very much. So I finally called down and said, hey, he can't do anything. And then Andy put him back. They went back out for one more offensive series, and Andy said, yeah, he can't even move. There's no use in him being out there. And then the trainer got to look at him.
You know, we had Douglas, too, that we could put in there. But it did change us a little bit. It changed us offensively. So, did we turn the ball over here?
That was the last thing I saw was a 4th and 3.
Okay, we didn't convert.
This might have been that touch.
Yeah, this
Was
was
that
the
Cale?
run on the left side.
Was this the touchdown we missed that first time, or is this
Yes.
21-7 at this point?
Yes, it is. I think Robbie's long touchdown run put them up 21. So I think if you look at the next scoreboard shot, here it is.
Here's a long one.
Here's Robbie's long, and I mean,
I don't like
if you're
talking
watching
about
this thing, we have him. I'll say this:
3 times.
no discredit to our kids, but we had 4 seniors and 1 junior hit him in the backfield, and we just didn't.
I
the
think if
ground.
Pierce doesn't have a broken leg, Pierce cleans him up because we had slowed him down so much.
Yeah,
Pierce
That
just
one-
didn't turn.
that one was a backbreaker, but I mean, our kids were resilient. You know, we didn't really panic much. It's 2 scores. You know, we had been down to Shelbyville after being up. You know, we had given up 33 unanswered to Shelbyville at one point.
Oh, yeah.
And our kids just didn't blink. So we talked about that. Don't flinch. Just keep swinging. It'll turn your way.
Yeah, Poolham was as good as anybody we played the whole year.
I remember that game. That was a fun game. To cover, I don't know how fun it would have
Yeah.
been. from
Oh,
the
we
sideline.
jumped all over him first half. Should have been over.
Mhm.
Punt return.
Poolin and Cantrell put him on their on his
Yeah.
back.
Joey, this play here is one where we had a high divide route going, and the safety chases the near receiver across the field. The previous play, we had him open behind the defense, and that's then with the wind at our back. It's the first vertical throw we'd made with the wind at our back, and we just kind of overshot him a little bit. If we hit him, they're not going to catch hole. So we felt like we left points on the board on that drive right there also, because we had a guy behind their defense and just missed him, which that happens.
Yeah. Not only was it a guy, it was whole, and I
Right.
don't know who catches that kid anywhere.
Right. Yeah, if you're faster than him, he's going to zigzag his way to the end zone anyways. But, hey, big props here. We get a stop and have another chance before the half again. You know, Joey, we've talked about this a lot. You know, we've went to the fact that we'll work in the summer some against some of these wing T teams. We just don't see it.
Mhm.
But we know we're going to see it in the playoffs. So at least we want our kids to have at least had some idea of what it looks like and how to line up to it. Because, you know, we got it the week before in the semifinal, and we got it in the
Ethan.
second round against Brown County also. So in the west side of the state and the north side of the state, they're going to play this style of football.
Tackling wasn't there.
Yeah, it is pretty geographical, isn't it? I mean, this area in 1 and 2A is spread, but once you get there, it's even when you get south, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, west and northwest, and then you get, I mean, we don't play a ton from the south at our level.
Our whole conference is red.
I guess Chester was a wing T team, though. We've played them in the quarterfinals before. So, yeah, it is
Brown
very –
County ran some double tight against us. Not much, though.
Athens.
I guess
Yeah.
Ethan.
yeah, Athens is kind of the outlier at this level in what they run on offense, aren't they? In this area, sorry, in this area.
But this year, in 17, they were nowhere near as strong as Lena was up front, like physical strength-wise.
They had one really fast dude.
We could control Ethan's front line.
One really fast dude and a slow tight end. Athens had 2.
Brown County had probably one of the best kids we played all year, too, was what was his name, Andy?
Number 47.
Susenbach.
Susenbach going to
They're-
Eastern now?
Yeah, they're that long run.
Well, this is – Joey, mine is in order as I watch it. I'm not sure why these are out of order.
Trap.
You can see what I see. Let me pull it up here about the right play.
Ours is out of order like that, too. If you I think
Mine's
it-
not. I'm watching it in order.
Is it this one, Andy, that my cursor's over?
What play are you? I can't see it.
This one here is 89 that we're currently watching.
Yeah, this is later on in the half here.
Do you think it's got to be one of these 4, right?
Yes. It's that top one's the one Maybe I need to close mine out, Joey.
No, you're fine. I think I just clicked the wrong one. What player are you on, Andy?
Well, I'm not. I mean, I have mine pulled up, but I'm not. I'm kind of following along on your screen.
That's fine. I'll try to get as close as we were to.
You know, D kick, a defense, and then a kick. D scoreboard kick 58, and then that's the first score they had.
I don't know how to go to that.
This would have been at. Let me see if get the scoreboard here.
Joey, can you hit the play number and put those back in where it says play number?
Yeah.
And maybe those will go back in order.
Yeah, that was the situation. Okay. Now I got to find out where we left off. It was right. It was 21-7 was when we left off after the big run by Valentine. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at one of the guesses,
72 is when Valentine ran it in about 25 yards out on the left side. Put it up 21-7.
Okay.
We'll go back to there then.
So like I said, this is a point in the game where
and there we were missing Pierce there. We had to adjust in the secondary.
You said that one felt like a backbreaker, Andy?
No. I mean, I think a lot of times you would feel like it was.
Okay.
And I think I did say that, but I was going back to our kids. I don't think they ever really flinched. Like, we had moved the ball really in the first half so well, and it had controlled the game for the first 12, 14 minutes. But, you know, they had that drive right there. That was their second score.
What is it, Cale? You said
They had 4 plays that went for all their yards the whole game.
Like 2 minutes and 30 seconds?
Yeah, they beat us for 6 minutes of the game.
Does that hurt as a player more? I mean, I would assume so.
At the time, you don't quite realize it. You just realize you lost 21-20. And then the first time you watch it back, you realize oh wow, we had the momentum the whole game except for those 6 minutes in the second quarter. And then after about 6 months, you kind of realize we got second in the state and it doesn't hurt anymore.
That's an interesting. I guess I've never really followed up.
Here's the play, Joey, where we've got him
Yeah.
and just shot him. So we did feel like we left some points there, and there's going to be one in the second half also.
Yeah, you had the same play. That play there, you had hit against Jacardier earlier in the year a couple times. Hole across the middle on that.
That was
Hawthorne dropped.
You know, so at this point in time, I know in my head we gotta get a good punt here, and then we've got to get a stop. You know, and I mean they got good field position here. This is the first time in the game though where they've started with good field position. You know, you're 5:29 left. They're up 21-7. They hadn't had good field position just yet. You know, and that's the Ormiston kid right there that plays fullback. He's the all-time leading rusher in the NUIC. He's a 4-year starter on both sides.
When we were talking last night and you said his name, I saw it for sure it was an older brother. It just feels like that kid's been around forever.
Yeah, like Jess Settles. Played basketball in Iowa. He was there for 100 years.
What?
Jess Settles. Played basketball.
Jack Hockaday was in Monroe forever.
Yeah, Jack Hockaday at Monroe. There forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, kudos to our defense here. We're able to get off the field. And the goal, you know, we were in good spots all day defensively, just had to get people on the ground.
That kid started. Holy crap.
Who?
Did that really big lineman they had this year start on this team?
Sophomore.
He
The
was
Dunkel kid. What's his name?
Jennings Dunker. He's 66. He played in their 2 tight end package, I think. But he wasn't quite as big.
No, not nearly as big.
He's coming back again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we lost contain there. Your outside linebacker responsibilities, bootleg, counter, and reverse. You don't have to make plays on the other side of the ball.
Naked's such a hard play to defend. We get a stop here, don't we?
This is when we're missing Pierce a little bit.
You're running it well.
This one, I think, maybe comes back for a flag.
The time ran out, or how did we stop him there?
They got penalty.
Oh.
So this is where, Andy, you said you still had the ball final possession of the half, and
Well, 134, and we have the wind at our back. But they've got a little bit of the momentum. So your thought process going into this is, hey, we'll take a shot here and be aggressive. If we can get the ball to midfield, we'll go ahead and take a stab at it. But if we get behind the chains or it doesn't work out here in our first couple downs, we're going to get into halftime and try to make some adjustments. We come out in the second half, Joey, and start running a lot of – see, look at that box. Like, it's a 4-1 box. Like you're salivating to – oh, boy. Yeah, so coming out here, we're going to take one shot at this, and we run a slant and go, and the cornerback falls down. And we had Luke made a really good pass, made a nice adjustment from his last pass into the wind, and we just dropped it.
That was just a straight fade, I think, Coach. And Robbie think that we just run straight at him like that.
It was a slant and go.
Oh. Why did he start so far in? Freaking Kaufman.
Oh,
It's a fade. Watch his shadow.
no, it was,
So now, you take that shot on first down and you have a chance, but we just didn't make the catch. Now you worry. They got 25 seconds and some timeouts, but they're not really suited for this. But their 2-minute drill is blast and jet sweep, and they can break one.
I'm going to pause it here, Andy. What do you three remember about the halftime? You talked a little bit about it, but what are you saying to the kids? What's the environment like in there?
Yeah, I think I don't remember our kids being overly rattled. We knew here's what we had told them at halftime. Hey, listen, we got the ball to start the game. We've got to kick the ball off. It's going to be important. We've got to get a stop. And we told them they're not going to change because their offense, the way they run it anyways, is going to allow them to grind the tempo of the game down. But we also knew coming into the third quarter, I intentionally took the wind in the third quarter. The thing was we had to try to make a run at them in the third quarter with the wind at our back. I felt like if we got into the fourth quarter at 21-7, it was going to be really tough for us because you're probably going to have to throw the ball some. You're going to have to do it into that. I mean, that headwind became very, very stiff. So, but I don't think we ever felt like we were out of the game. I don't think we ever felt like, man, I just think we felt like, hey, just keep believing, keep battling, keep scratching, make sure you get them on the ground, and I think our kids felt like, man, this score shouldn't be 21-7. If it is, it should probably be 21-7 our way. We haven't done a good enough job. And again, we told them to try to reassure their confidence. We've missed a touchdown pass over the top of them. We dropped one that over the top of them. We fumbled the ball inside their 4-yard line on first down. Like, we're fine, We've been more consistent than they have through the first half. You just got to grind and battle. And the goal was give yourself a chance late in the game. You're
well, we talked about the open B. You started hitting that draw when they'd go those double threes.
Yeah, we did an auto check when they started lining up in 2-3 techniques. We were going to run either a draw to Erickson or a quarterback draw where our running back followed, and you're going to see that here in the first drive in the second half. We did a pretty good job with it.
I remember we picked up some heavy tendencies they had too. Like they had a pretty heavy tendency to run to their sideline, and in certain formations they only ran one way against us.
Yeah.
Who picked those up, Cale? Did you guys? Was it a coach? Was it a collective effort? Because I don't hear that a lot. I don't hear players say that a lot.
I actually noticed some things like that on the field, and then like I'd say something to a coach, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that," or they'd say something to look out for. So it was just kind of mutual between.
We had a pretty smart group as far as football wise. Cale and
Yeah.
Dalton and Noah knew everything that everything did, and TJ Onslaught's real good at picking stuff up. So is Coach Pierce. So they all year long we had people run away from our strong side. We had Woodard and Cale on the strong side a lot, and Eric and Erickson. So people would start running the other direction.
Joey, when you get teams like this, they're probably the easiest teams to prepare for. And they probably give you the highest percentages in terms of tendencies and bench and field and strength, but they execute at such a high level, it's difficult to stop.
Yeah.
That would be very frustrating as a coach and a player to know darn well what's coming your way and do a plan, but
Denham Cook.
Sementi calls it death by 1,000 cuts.
That was our St. Teresa playoff game this year.
Did you say Denham Cook?
Yeah, we knew every play St. Teresa ran. We were calling it from the press box. We just couldn't handle Cook.
Who's a play?
He's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
So they did have a tendency when Robbie went into as a single back, they were going to run jet sweep or they were going to run fullback. They were going to run trap with him almost exclusively. So when he was the single back in a double wing set, he wouldn't put his hand on the ground.
Watch Hull come downhill hard here. Trip him up, and then Erickson clocked him. We clocked Valentine quite a few times, and he just kept getting up.
Yeah, he had a great career.
He ended up walking on at Northern. The last I knew, is he still there?
He's actually done.
Too many concussions.
The ironic thing is, we went to Iowa last year to watch a football game, and we were with Ian Cool's mother. And while she was sitting there talking to us, Ravi called her and said that he was done. He got another concussion. They were going to honor his scholarship for all 4 years, but he couldn't play football anymore.
So he's a graduate assistant, like not a graduate, he's like a student assistant coach.
Yep.
Oh, that's really cool.
So that one,
That was a tough kid.
motion there.
You catch it?
Yeah, he took it from Dalton.
Dalton needs to get taller.
If Dalton were taller, he's playing D1 baseball right now.
This play right here, Ben Dixon made a play right here on this toss sweep as a sophomore. He had kind of come into the game when
That's a good hit.
When Pierce got hurt, made a nice hit. Unfortunately, he spent the next couple of years injured, and he just graduated, or will graduate here in a month.
Ben started. Hayden came in, but no one got hurt.
Yeah, but then.
So again, Joey, we got the 3 and out we wanted. We feel good here, but we felt like this is a key drive. Like we need to capitalize here. This is important. We got to capitalize on this one with good field position and the wind at our backs. But, I mean, as a coach, when you see that box, and that's how confident these guys are in their defensive front, when you see that box, and especially with the offensive line we had, like you've got to be able to run the football into that because it's going to be hard to throw into that shell.
Yeah. That does take a certain level. Go for it.
But again, we got hemorrhaged from the backside on a counter play. So, it's like, geez.
What if Vinny just missed his block?
They were that good.
He got beat. That was a tail of the game, too. Isaiah Bruce bad in passes.
That pump fake, Luke may have been the high school quarterback I've seen the most use a pump fake, and he was very, very good at it. But if I'm remembering right, I feel like he did it a lot.
Yeah, we teach our kids that you're never looking at a pump until the left hand. If you're right hand, one hand's got to come off the ball before you drive on it. There's times Luke would pull that left hand off the ball He had big hands for our quarterback, which is great. So they get us into a 4th and a yard, you know, and this is you don't get this, it becomes tough. But fortunately, we did. I think draw is coming against that front.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Draw. I think this was
Double
about
three.
17 yards. So we ran the draw play that we had ran that throughout the year, but it wasn't a staple for us. But we just felt like against that front, that's something that we worked on in the locker room at halftime, believe it or not.
How'd you work on it in the locker room?
Oh, they have a huge locker room, so we worked on our footstep and our lateral footwork, and we were able to line up their defensive front. And what we were going to do is we were going to run that to the open A gap, you know, and pull the backside guard after a pass set up to the opposite A gap. And,
Our O-line coach, Ted Minger, does a pretty good job letting Andy know prior to the play call what gaps are open.
yeah, there's times I'll say, hey, I want to run certain plays. I want to run certain directions to certain fronts. So we'll get lined up, and he'll tell me, you got a 1 and a 5, or you got a 3 and a 5. You got double 3s right now, and he's really good at that.
I think the most violent play of the game's coming up soon.
So everything you said, Andy, in the locker room came true, right? I mean, you get your 3, you get your stop, you get your
Yep.
touchdown, and one score for you guys is literally not, for really a lot of teams, but really for this team is nothing.
Well, and that's what you got. I mean, that's
Back into it.
you know, the thing of it is, Joey, when you're down by 14 and you put a lot of stock into what you say, hey, it's really important to get a 3 and out, and then we're going to go down and score. And it wasn't like we were saying, hey, this is what we need. We're saying, hey, we'll get a 3 and out, we'll go score. You're within a score at that point. Then you can take a breath and play. But and if it doesn't work out, you don't really worry about that at the time you're saying it. You're just trying to instill a sense of confidence.
There's a big hit by Woodard on this one.
Came down
Yeah.
to violence.
Woodard forced a turnover there.
That was the 3rd of the game, right? If
Yeah.
at this point.
They're sure Noah.
And again, good field. I mean, the entire second half then's played on their side of the field, you know?
Who got smoked?
Dalton. That's tough. Slant, I think. Oh, no.
Yeah, see, that was just a sail route. We had the flat open.
Yeah, I was going to say. This next play, I'm at slot because Noah was hurt. We didn't want to take the time.
Andy, how many kids do you trust to do what Dalton just did and cut back, lose a couple yards like that?
We never really talk about it. We just tell our kids to be athletes, but we also say this. I tell our kids all the time, be an athlete, but you got to understand situations. If it's 4th down and 1, get moving downhill. But I'll tell you what really infuriates me, and I think the kids get so mad at me for saying it. There's draw again. Joey, I get so mad when our kids get tackled on like the 9-yard line. So it's 1st and goal from the 9 because the field is so squeezed. It's the hardest place to call plays from. So I'm like, what are you getting tackled at the 9 for? And they're like, I broke like 12 tackles to get there. And I'm like, well, get tackled at the 15.
Can you back that up, Cale? Did it drive you guys nuts?
He get on Pierce.
Every time that I like caught the ball, I felt like it, but I'd actually like rumble down to like the 8-yard line too. We had a really big problem of not quite being fast enough to get into the end zone.
Hey, listen, Joey, if you ever talk to Coach Winkie about this, they had a gigantic problem when he first went to a lot of spread stuff. This is the play of the game by Chrisman. I remember when this snap went batty there, and Hull had that and took off around the edge. We practiced where he pump fakes to try to get kids to leave their feet. And he pump faked that kid, and that kid's eyes stayed glued to his hips, and he makes the tackle. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if that ended up being a difference in the game, but if Joey, if you
Yeah.
give me Dalton Hole at the 7-yard line one-on-one with somebody and the ball in his hand, I'll take it 10 times out of 10. And that Chrisman kid, he made the play. You guys got to give him credit for it.
Coach, you know how I told you that boot trail was open? On that play, I told you boot trail was open. I thought it was 3rd down. I wouldn't have told you it was open if I would have known it was 4th.
I listen to seniors, Cale. Trust your seniors. Okay, so Joey, we did what we needed to do in the 3rd quarter outside of we didn't tie the game up on the extra point, but we also know going into the 4th quarter, we had been really balanced there in the 3rd quarter, throw and run. Going into the 4th quarter, you're down a point. We've got the momentum, but we also know we're going into the headwind, and we know going into this last drive late in the game that we've got to be to the 16-yard line at an absolute minimum for a field goal attempt to win it. And we had a great kicker, one of the most prolific in the history of the state, and with a great leg. I mean, he's a touchback kid, and we've seen him kick 50, 52-yarders in practice. But in that win in the pregame, we knew going that direction, ball had to be about the 16, and that 16 is going to give you about a 33-yard field goal. But that's about all he had into that wind.
Who was your kicker? Can you remind me?
Cade Christine.
That's right. Yeah.
Good job by Dixon of setting the edge. And then the thing that this group did is, man, they ran to the ball. They ran to the football.
So you're the second coach this week. Coley said the same thing about his Monticello team the next year, and that seems to be a trend. I mean, if you run to the football, you're going to play late into November.
I mean, you get a group of talented
people you get there, more turnovers you get.
We talk to kids about, we want 10 hats in the frame on as it zooms in to be tackled. We want 10 hats in the frame is always kind of our goal. We just had a kick returner take the ball inside of the 5, Joey, but it's whole, and he knew that ball was going to get – he saved us 25 yards there because that ball was getting down. It was moving laterally, so he went ahead and picked it up. So here's where we start moving Cale in, and that way we can start double teaming with Keel a little bit. So we don't have to pull the backside guard as much. That was kind of Douglas's coming out party. He had a few big catches. That was on a little outcut where he twirls back inside.
There was a lot of Dalton Hole in his game too. I mean, I know we talked about it before last year.
Correct. And I think Brandon would tell you there he probably needed to catch that ball. Third and 10 are bad situations, and Bruce got up and batted down four passes in this game.
I remember that.
Yeah, he batted down some balls where we had some guys open, but it's something you're not super used to, seeing guys his size with his athleticism that'll get their hands up, and he had some big mitts on him.
Yeah, you got to realize he threw in the shot put down at state, and he also ran their 4x1.
Yeah, he was the anchor of the 4x1.
It's just unfair.
Got 265 pounds.
He was a monster. I mean, we just saw him in November. He was a monster again there, man. He's just a different breed.
Rare.
He's a dude.
Andy, I told you last night, and Lenny, I told Andy I hadn't seen Hunter on film because I obviously watch you guys from the sideline, and I mean, Hunter's a big dude. I mean, he's a huge dude, and again, not many teams are going to make him look like a fairly normal-sized dude in 1A, but Lena does.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when we went, you think about it, on one side, we had CJ Picasso and Hunter and Cale. You're looking at 6'6", 6'6", 6'4".
This is
When
the
we-
best.
It looked like we were normal compared to them.
This is the best.
Watch this. The guy pushes off.
That's the best game that Woodard played on defense in his career was this day. He was really good. He was unblockable. You know, I don't know what Rick says, but they might think that Woodard was as good for us as we believe Cool was for them.
It's interesting.
You know, but you're getting down inside. You know, you got about 6 minutes left here. You know, the thing that's really surprising is they're very, very good in coverage, despite the fact that they don't see this stuff very often. And they're just, here's the thing is, the way they talk is they're very good tacklers because they're so used to playing in the box, and they're going to say, listen, you'll get guys on the ground if you keep them in front of you. Don't let guys behind you, and they're just not going to, although we did get guys behind them twice and just didn't quite take advantage.
That's a really, really good point because I mean, we talked about it earlier, right? Teams in this area, when you see a run-heavy wing team, it's a huge adjustment to figure out how to do it. But they, you know, especially when you isolate their secondary defensively, they don't see a lot of what you guys, what Moreau, what A&M, what those teams do. And that's a good point.
Freeport-Akron was the one team up there that'll do a little bit of the stuff we do, but they won't mix in quite as many formations, and they want to throw the ball more than they run it, whereas most of our teams around here are a little bit more balanced. Still go under center some.
You said Hunter was unblockable. I feel like I remember coming out and doing a story. Was he not as much on defense before his senior season?
No, he played.
No, he didn't play a lot of defense.
He tried
Go
to
ahead,
get back
Coach.
all the time instead of playing his position. And then he actually played real well the week before against Athens, too. The last 2 games of his career were his best defensive games.
Yeah, he's tailor-made to play defense against these styles where it's going to be downhill and you just got to get off the ball and go. When you're in a pass rush and that kind of stuff, he tries to diagnose the play, but when he's against these teams, he's really, really good. So I think, is this our last drive here, Joey?
No, that was the interception.
Well, this is first down.
That interception was like crazy. I think the game's over.
You did think it as a player? You thought it was it? Or it's
Well,
less than-
yeah. Well, you don't want to say that you think it was it, but you're kind of like, dang, there's 2.5 minutes left. We're playing a wing T team. They have the ball on our 30, and then
Yep.
Andrew Erickson here just forces a fumble, like miraculously, like crazy. And then we
Yeah,
just
so-
get on
so-
top of it and spark. You know?
Joey, I remember when we were coming off the field after the interception, Will Little actually running by Luke and smacking him on the head and saying, we'll give you one more shot. You'll have the ball one more time. And on first down where we got it away from him and got it right back. But into this wind, now your chances to go vertical are going to be very difficult. And you know, you need to get the clock stopped. And so now they're in a 4-0 box, basically. I mean, those guys are out there. So you're 3.5 or 4 over 3 here, and you're 1.5 over 1 up there. If you run the ball here, you're going to waste so much clock. You know, but we get the first down there on a ISO out route, and we're at midfield. So you're feeling like, you know, not a lot of panic, not a lot of just keep plugging away. And you want to try to attack the sidelines because you need to get the ball out of bounds. I don't know exactly what the clock situation is, but
4. That was another Bruce bat down, I think.
right here it is, yeah. Unbelievable. You know, and these are on routes where we really felt good about it too. And actually, Cothran's vertical there behind Robbie, but they had a safety coming over the top to rob it.
Is that Bruce who got him on the end around too?
I think it was number 1 of the other defensive end who's playing college football as well.
E5. Some kid. Nobody knows.
Seems like Dalton Hole found his way to that first down marker every single time he needed to find his way to that first down marker.
Smart.
That's when they didn't give us a measurement, though.
Well, that's coming up
Yeah, that's right.
right here. I mean, it's
Hull's one of the smarter players as far as being ball smart and just knowing where to be as I've ever coached.
That's the wind, isn't it, Andy? Luke doesn't underthrow that.
Oh,
And
we were behind. I mean, again, we were behind him there, and yeah, it's windy. You know, this is tough. When we go empty, they took a timeout here themselves, I believe. You know, so we got third down. Now so Luke's on this run here. We feel like he's got a first down by a waist. I'm trying to get we have one timeout left. We're going to need it for the field goal. So we're trying to get, I'm yelling at this guy. You got to give us a measurement, give us a measurement, give us a measurement. But you don't have time to sit here and argue with him about it, right? And once the ball's set, once the ball's set, he's in bounds. So what we have here, Joey, is we have 4th and a yard. We have a timeout that I want to keep for the field goal attempt. But you can see I'm telling the official right now, and I will say this official does send me an email on Sunday about this very play, and I'm not going to go into what he said about it, but you know, it's the way the game worked out. But I felt like I felt like it was a first down on film, and it wasn't even very close. But when they spot the ball out there at the hash mark, I think it's actually spotted past the first down marker. But it's 4th and a yard. And we had so much success on a little flood concept with double out routes that we thought, man, if we get a double out and get up the field here, we'll be in field goal range. So we went trips to the field to try to buy us some space, and we run Florida State, which is our flood concept, out of trips. And our slot receiver over there is a little bit wide, and he doesn't really get off the ball. Our second slot receiver, which was one of our juniors, 25. So he was the slot receiver on the other side of the field, and in the time crunch, we left him there.
All things considered, I mean, just given the game and is this the wildest ending you've been a part of? And just from the final 2 minutes to the end of this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, we've had 3 really wild endings. And, 4, counting maybe St. Teresa earlier this year in 17. It was a really, really good ending where we kicked a field goal with 10 minutes to go and ended up being the difference in the game. But, yeah, I mean, with the stakes, what they were, you know, in terms of you got a state championship on the line and you're driving to try to win the game after being down by 2 touchdowns. Yeah, you feel like maybe you let one get away, but obviously, I've had many people tell me it's the best 1A championship game they've seen. I don't know that it was unbelievably well played. We turned the ball over, missed some chances. They turned the ball over. They didn't miss chances, but they turned the ball over more than we did. But, you know, it's a tough one to swallow like they all are. You know, when you get whacked and somebody just kicks you, you know, we've kicked some people in championship games. We've gotten kicked in championship games, and those ones where you get kicked are pretty dysfunctional. Well, they were just better. They were better than us. That was like their 10 team, they were better than our 10 team. They whacked us pretty good. But in that one, you know, the close games, Coach Sementi, you feel this way. They're always the most difficult to swallow because you know if one or two things go your way in the game, you're going to be the state
Yeah,
champion.
always. You always second guess something.
Well, think about the way
that
Byron.
game. There's 10 plays where you think to yourself, oh,
Goes differently.
yeah, you do one thing different, we win this game. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's every one of their touchdowns. 2 of their 3 touchdowns were on those huge breakout plays, and both of those you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, man, like that shouldn't happen. The screen, it's a mistake that a group with 8 seniors or 6 seniors on the field doesn't make very often. And then the broken play by Valentine, you know, you kind of just have to tip your cap at this point and say that kid was a special athlete. I mean,
Yeah, Joey, you know, you had Monticello on, and they played Byron in the state championship game, and by all rights probably feel like they could have won that game. And then the same thing happened to them this year against Williamsville.
Oh.
Like, they played really well 2 times in a row, and it just didn't happen for them. It doesn't mean they did it wrong. It doesn't mean they were, you know, they need to change. And, you know, I got a message. I mean, we were riding on the bus home, and I got a message from George Barnett, who's a graduate here. He's the offensive line coach and co-OC at Miami of Ohio. And the message from George says, do me one favor and don't ever second guess the way you do it. Because I think that happens a lot of times. You start to, how do we make sure we don't lose it? It comes down to execution. You're doing, you just got to execute at a higher level on the field, execute in your preparation as coaches, all of it. And, you know, Cale will be the first one to tell you, I would harp on these guys all the time about their pre-practice stuff. Right, Cale? All the time.
We make jokes about this to this day. Me and Hole, every day in pre-practice, we didn't take it seriously. We were the 2 log snappers, and both of us would get out to the field, and we'd just start throwing balls at Erickson just to mess with him. And then
And I
Coach
would
would say, special
would
teams
get-
have cost us 3 years in a row. We got to take pre-practice serious, and we continue just to throw balls at Erickson. And then, you know, sure enough, comes back to bite us.
Cale, you said something earlier that was interesting, that it took a little bit, then you realized you were second in the state. And I don't take the chance, I should say, to go back and follow up with you guys after a state championship loss. But what is that process? And even I'll let you coaches maybe share on this too, that after you lose a game like this, that you realize that you were in a game like this.
So we lost the game, and then obviously after the state game, they choose like 4 guys it is to go up and do the press conferences. Well, the rest of the team just goes to the locker room. So we all get to the locker room, and the whole team's sitting in there, dead silent. There's like small talk going on. And finally, I stood up and I go, dude, we just got second in the state. Like, there's no reason to be sad. Like, we might as well celebrate. So we turned on our post-game win celebration music, actually, and just started having a good time in the locker room one last time because we got second in the state, and that was a great accomplishment. So I think that it hurt, and it hurt for a while, but I think we realized pretty fast as a whole, like, that was a great accomplishment. Like, we got second in the state, and we have nothing to really be upset or ashamed of.
You know,
You coaches agree?
Well, Andy and I talk about this a lot, and if
I know exactly what he's going to say.
if you told me I could go to the state championship game 10 times and take 10 runner-ups and never win it, or I could win it once, I'd go 10 times and take a runner-up. The week is unbelievable.
The experience the kids get.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And
What's your favorite part?
Just the community coming together and being with the kids and the coaches. We have dinners that week. We had dinner up there in our hotel, barbecue dinner on Thanksgiving night. The weeks are just special. You know, I've done it 3 times. Andy's done it 4. You know, once in softball. It's just a special week.
One of the most fun
And
things.
the other thing is, as parents, because we were parents that year, we knew both Cale's baseball and football season, that the season was over no matter what. When you lose in the quarterfinals or semis, you don't know when the season's going to end, and all of a sudden it's over. When you end the state championship game, you know the next day it's over.
Yeah, there's
I would
a
say
definite finality to it.
losing in the quarterfinals as a junior to Calhoun, that game stung so much more than losing the state championship game. It's just because we go into that state championship game and obviously we're expecting to win, but then we end up losing it and it's like, we got second in the state. But we lost the quarterfinals to Calhoun. We went into that game without a doubt in my mind that we were going to put 40 on them and blow them out. And then, so it was just tough.
Cale, is this going to be the time that you tell me you're going to go into coaching after you're done with all of your stuff? Because you talk like
That's
you're a
really
coach.
funny. My dad and I were actually talking about it the other day. I was talking about how I want to start coach. Like, I want to coach football. I just obviously can't right now while I'm in school. But after, hopefully, when I get a job somewhere, I'll be able to spare up some time in the evenings in the fall and coach football.
Talking to you is like hearing Andy talk.
Joey, there's always identifiers of kids, you know, like we know, like Onstock played for us, and he's an all-stater, but I'll just say this, like, we know the kids who can come back here and coach, and they don't have to be all-staters, but they have to have a passion for the game, and they have to think the game cerebrally and think through the game and understand, you know, this is why you punt the ball early in the game on 4th down and a yard against a team that's going to run the ball right at you 4 times in a row. You've got to avoid the death by 1,000 cuts, because if you get them into 4th and 2.5 and they're on their opposite 20, they're going to punt the football. If they get 4th and 2.5 and they're on your 40, they're going to go for it. And chances are they're going to make it at like an 80% clip. And so, you know, you identify the kids as you go along. You know the kids who understand those types of things. You know, and we've had some guys come back, and we've got some guys who are in college that'll probably come back and help us eventually. And we got some guys like Cale who are on that list as well. So that group of kids has a lot of them. They were pretty passionate about it, and they were very cerebral.
I'm going to cut off the recording here. Make sure to stop.